Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you're having a great conference. My name is Umair Waheed. I head up product marketing at Yellowbrick. Quick question, who's heard of Yellowbrick? A few people. I've been doing data warehousing, data analytics for the last 20 odd years in various contexts as a consultant, helping organizations develop data analytics capabilities. But the last 10 years I've been working with vendors, with Microsoft, and now with Yellowbrick. And one of the trends we're seeing is that the universe of solutions that's out there for data warehousing analytics is only growing. It's not just the data that's growing, it's the possibilities opened up primarily by the cloud actually don't help us. They actually increase the solution space. So they help us, obviously, but they increase the decision capabilities. So we're all in constant search for the perfect data architecture. What is the right data architecture that not only helps us deliver interesting data services, but also doesn't cost us the earth, both in terms of financial resources, but also from a sustainability perspective. So there was a prize mentioned in the abstract, so I will do the prize question first. Cat on a horse. Anyone want a cat on a horse reference? It may be, but the cat on a horse reference was not from the Microsoft Insiders program. Anyone else want to venture cat on a horse? I have these funky T-shirts here as prizes. We have a pretty interesting brand department, and the answer is actually on the T-shirt. So the answer is that we have a cat on a horse as part of our brand, and the rationale is kind of herding cats. Like trying to marshal data across our organization is often like herding cats, right? Everyone wants to develop their own solution. Everyone's pushing in some other direction. And as an architect, as a solution engineer, you're often trying to corral these people together. It's tough because they for good reasons they want to go in a different direction. And it's only getting harder, right? Things are only getting bigger, more complicated. Yes, there's more data. I think you pick your favorite data stat. There's exploding amounts of data. But more interestingly, we're trying to give that data to more people. We're trying to give people access to data to create insights which are useful to the business. And as we do that, necessarily, we'll need larger, more complex data systems that are running in more locations. And teams, ultimately, are located where they're located. So they might be geographically dispersed. They might be dispersed from a financial perspective and need financial independence. There may be regulatory concerns that cause them to need data that's not in a central location. So historically, we've tried to centralize data into data warehouses. It kind of worked. It worked with the technologies that we had available at that time. But now with the cloud, we actually are actively able to embrace distributed data. We can actually have solutions where different divisions, different departments, different countries can have their own solution, but as part of their own data warehouse or their own data set or repository as part of a global or organizational repository. So we're going to talk about how to do that. So kind of where do we come from? We started with data mostly living on premises. Most organizations are in some sort of migration to the cloud, migrating some portion of their estate to the cloud. You'll notice not all of the data went to the cloud. The forecasts were that everything would shift to the cloud. There'd be no on-premise data. Stuff stays on premises. Even with the greatest plans, not all migrations successfully turn off the system you're migrating from. So you end up going from one system trying to migrate to a different one and ending up with two. We then start to proliferate solution data sets in the cloud for different reasons. Might be regulatory, might be just different teams, different countries, different sovereignty requirements. None of this, hopefully, is new. And then someone spins up data in a different cloud because, hey, that's where the data lives, right? Historically, that was common with organizations that adopted Google Cloud for their marketing solution. They would want to do their marketing analytics locally to Google. But there's lots of other reasons why people might have local data. But it's really today's reality. And then you've got to string all of these things together, start moving data. How do you actually do all of that sensibly? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can't avoid multi-cloud. You can't avoid multiple regions. You might not be at the scale where you have multiple locations, multiple countries, but most large organizations will have multiple pools of data that in some way they need to harmonize. And not forgetting on premises, that some data will still live on premises, and we need to be able to use all of that data to our advantage. So distributed data is the new normal. And that's backed up by some of the survey data we've been seeing. So I did a session with Jim Curtis from 451 Research a few weeks ago. Look him up if you want to view the session. Don't look him, Jim Curtis. He's way more famous than I am. But the key message from some of this data is that, yes, cloud, the march to cloud is on. More and more people are moving to the cloud. But if you look at some of the other lines, actually people are still deploying data on premises. People are still deploying data in private clouds. People still plan to do that in 2 years' time. On-premises data sets or other cloud data sets are not going away. The only decrease there is in that third line down, where people don't want to deploy in non-cloud environments on premises, so non-managed environments. So that seems to be the trend, is that people want a managed experience. They don't really want to sit around managing infrastructure, managing complexities of integration. And as we start to think about some of the modern data architectures, this is not a data mesh session, so I'm not going to explain data mesh all over again. I'm sure you've been to plenty of those sessions. But where you have data products in different domains and you have multi-cloud, then you have multi-cloud, you have product dependencies which cross clouds. And if you have to stretch those products across multiple different technologies, you then have to start creating layers of abstraction above those products to start to harmonize them. Because most organizations will adopt a technology that's reasonably native to one or more cloud. And that's true for on-premises as well. As we keep data on premises, then we need to stretch from the cloud back to on-premises. So how do we do that? Well, just a quick slide before that. And again, backed up by the data. So again, some research from the 451 group. They have this concept of data drivers. Data drivers are organizations that use data for strategic decisions, as it says. And now as they're voting with their feet, as they look at new data solutions, they want data solutions or data services that run across multiple public cloud environments. And there are multiple good reasons for that, not just distributed data. So introducing Yellowbrick, who are we? We are a distributed data warehousing solution. We're a cloud-based data warehouse. We run the same service in Amazon, Azure, Google, on-premises, exactly the same service, which means that if you do have multiple pools of data, you're not having to manage multiple different technologies in different clouds. So you could have the same ops, the same operations and controls. You can have the same governance. From a skill set, you're maintaining one skill set. But you can actually also manage all of these deployments, what we call instances. We call them instances in different clouds from a single control plane. So we have this concept of run anywhere. And there's another reason that people are adopting this sort of run anywhere approach. We do a lot of work with regulated industries like financial services and insurance. And particularly in financial services, organizations, the regulators are starting to get concerned around what happens if one cloud goes down and we've got a little bit too much dependency on that one cloud. It could be one vendor, it could be one cloud, one of anything. They don't want too much risk in one place. So they're pushing a lot of the organizations that they've pushed to the cloud now to say, well, actually, you need a strategy which crosses clouds and has the ability to stretch across clouds. And again, Yellowbrick comes in there. So from a product perspective, we are a SQL relational database, nothing too fancy there. We are massively parallel, like most of the cloud-based data platforms that are out there at the moment. Pick your favorite technology. We service all sorts of users, all sorts of data sets, all sorts of data volumes, from a BI user through to deep data science. Again, one of our core differences is that we operate on premises and in the cloud. So on premises, we are deployed on a sort of appliance hardware, and in the cloud, we actually use your cloud infrastructure. So we deploy inside your cloud, but we deploy it as a managed experience. Oh. So, again, I'm not going to go through a detailed architecture diagram here, but you have this concept of instances. Each of those instances can be in a different cloud or could be in the same cloud. They have complete isolation and complete independence. And then again, like most other data warehouse vendors, you can spin up multiple compute clusters against shared data sets inside one instance, and then you could do all the usual stuff, elastically scale them. We have a concept of small and large nodes to really dial in the performance you need for that group of users. But the interesting thing is the line around, the little dotted dashed line, which is everything runs inside your network. And what that means is there is no Yellowbrick piece that sits between you and your data. You're not connecting through Yellowbrick to your data. It's like installing something locally inside your cloud or your on-premises environment. You connect directly to that, so you're in full, complete control at all times, which makes it a much easier conversation for compliance officers as they start to think about how to deploy data solutions. There's no real, who's looking at my data type conversation. And from an organization perspective, it kind of, well, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to distribute it, but you could have different departments running in different clouds. You can use one of the clouds potentially as a disaster recovery solution. You could have your factories or supply chain running locally within a data center as part of this cloud data warehouse solution. We don't do ETL, we don't do federation, we are just a relational database platform. We want to be the best relational database platform out there at scale for servicing large-scale analytics use cases. So what's the challenge with some of the SaaS models that are out there today? One of the challenges is that they have all these sorts of, in order to run a SaaS service, they need some visibility of what you're doing on that platform. So they have sort of these, the idea is they have these cameras in your data center that are looking, they might not be touching your data, they might not have access to your data. Obviously, your data is secured under your own encryption keys, but they can kind of see what's going on within the database. They know who's logged in and when, all those types of things, which again, for some regulated industries, that's challenging. So we do that slightly differently. As we said, we run it in your cloud account, which means that no one has eyes on your data. Everything, the data plane, the management plane, the control plane, lives inside your network. Again, giving that confidence to deploy enterprise-wide solutions with Yellowbrick, removing some of those security concerns. But also allowing you to deploy Yellowbrick or your own data services. So as you start to think about data products, you need to start to monitor those data products. You need to treat them almost like a SaaS vendor, right? As if I'm a finance department and I'm shipping data out to the rest of my organization, I need to be able to track metrics on who's accessing that data, how often are they accessing it, what's the performance, do I have any outages? I'm kind of managing lots of mini software deployments. And again, because everything is in your domain, you have full access to do that. The other challenge with a lot of data warehouse solutions today is that they really only have one vector to scale, and that is to add compute capacity. So I'm at the end of the month, I'm doing usual sort of finance reporting, 1,000 people want to log onto the system and run queries. I have one lever, which is to grow and to scale, which is great, which is easy, it's nice and simple, it works. From a finance perspective, though, it means that your costs also scale as you go. And one of the things that we do, we kind of think about at Yellowbrick is being more efficient. So we are engineered to be more efficient than most other database platforms. And what that means is we push more users, more compute, more queries onto a smaller footprint, which effectively means lower costs, but also from a sustainability perspective means you're running lower compute. Oh, my builds are going funny. Running low compute, which has obviously sustainability advantages as well. So that efficiency derives from two things. It derives from having a really intelligent engineering function that really are geared up to squeeze every single ounce of kind of compute power from the underlying infrastructure. They've really rewritten the database from the ground up to do that. So you're just out of the box, we run more efficiently. But we also have really good workload management capabilities. So one of the challenges with running an enterprise data service is not always getting the fastest performance. Often consistency in performance is more important than speed. If you give someone a report that runs in 15 seconds one day, and it runs in 2 seconds the next day because the system was quiet, guess what? They always want it in 2 seconds. And that's why we have these workload management capabilities that really allow you to bake in a level of expectation that gives users predictable performance, not always the fastest. If you want to always give them the fastest performance, you can set it up like that too. But really world-class workload management capabilities baked in together with a really super efficient database engine means that we just scale better as well. And these numbers on your right-hand side are our own internal benchmarks, so take them as you wish. But when we compare with some leading solutions like Snowflake, which are great solutions that are out there, but as you get into the more complex end of the spectrum, when you get like hundreds of users, thousands of users accessing these data products that you're creating within your organization across this massive pool of data, the scale characteristics start to go slightly awry. And that means that they get more inefficient over time. Most database platforms do. We have a better scale chart, if you like, better scale path. So we don't grow as much necessarily. And also from a pure efficiency perspective, we are able to run on the same compute. If you go like for like on compute, we are running queries typically 3 to 4x times faster than most other platforms. So that combination of effective workload management, to pool, to give fair access to resources on your system, and highly engineered platform, highly engineered system really deliver for your enterprise and allow you to build these services at scale. So some of the other things we've kind of talked about, some of them. 100x performance is a nice marketing number. Not everyone else is going to get 100x performance on what they're running today, but we do have customers that have migrated from legacy technologies that are seeing 100x, sometimes 1,000x performance on some of their queries. But one of the cool things about Yellowbrick, and again, one of the things that a lot of the cloud analytics solutions struggle with, and again, as you start to scale your data platform out to larger numbers of users, is actually how do you deal with that influx of queries? And we're able to handle, we are built to handle hundreds of concurrent users in Yellowbrick, which enables teams of thousands of people to access data. We have some of our largest customers, one of our largest customers is a global credit card company, and they're running multiple petabytes of data, I think 10 to 12 petabytes of data, almost like a relational data lake within Yellowbrick, all distributed across their organization. It's not one pool of data. Effectively, they've got these data domains spread across their organizations, but within a small number of Yellowbrick instances. And they're able to put 7,000 to 8,000 users against that data, able to ask those stupid questions that people need to be asked, to experiment, to iterate towards some insights, right? Because not everyone's going to write the perfect query first time. So you need to be able to allow people to try, fail. And again, the workload management kicks in because we can do things like penalty boxing to make sure that users aren't, they're not taking up too much resource with any one query. And again, we have a pretty transparent pricing model, which I won't worry about today. But it is highly managed. It looks like a SaaS platform. So when you log on, you're managing it through a UI, or you're managing it through CLI, or you're managing it through SQL commands. So you don't have to touch the infrastructure, but it still runs inside your compute environment, inside your network, all inside your firewall. The software makes it zero touch, effectively, but it's still in your domain. So that's Yellowbrick. Everything that you love about cloud data warehouses, all of the benefits of kind of on-premises levels of control, and we think actually not many of the downsides. Elastically scalable, data warehouse platform, built for the enterprise, built for the large scale, and if you are deploying multiple environments across organizational departments or across divisions or across countries for sovereignty reasons or whatever reason you need to split these things, then Yellowbrick is a good match for that use case. And it's, as I said, it's a familiar SQL technology, very little to learn. We look like Postgres, so anything that can talk to Postgres works well with us. So if you're thinking about building out or revamping your data, your data warehouse or data analytics environments, come talk to us. We're at booth 419. We have funky t-shirts, and as you did attempt to answer a question, you will get a funky t-shirt. But yeah, come see us. So the conclusion: you can't avoid distributed data. Don't try and fight the tide. Don't go against it. Accept it. It's always been there. Organizations have done it in different ways. The business have gone out and the marketing department have gone and got a data management platform, or gone to Adobe, or gone to someone else, to create some data set. Even when we thought we had centralized data warehouses, we didn't really have centralized data warehouses. So embrace it. Actually actively plan for it, and you'll be all the better for it. We believe that multi-cloud is the new normal for a number of reasons. From a regulatory and governance perspective, we think actually most organizations will trend there. Don't ignore your on-premise environments. Make your on-premise environments part of your data clouds. Don't ignore them. So obviously Yellowbrick Data Warehouse, we think we're the perfect fit for that modern data stack. But please do come visit us at Stand 419, and happy to answer any questions, but otherwise come visit us. A question from Richard. Yeah, so we are, as I said, we're a database. So the question was, how do we handle integration with SAP, for example? So we don't have any integration technologies. We want to be a relational database vendor. So we would work with all the normal integration technologies that you are familiar with. But we do support streaming inserts, so we're able to do real-time inserts and change data capture. If you have a solution that's able to capture those changes from SAP, you can push them through and stream them into Yellowbrick in real time and query them in real time. But other than that, I think we'll close. Thanks for your time. I hope you found that useful. Come visit us.